Kia ora, and welcome back to ECG Boot Camp, an introduction to ECG interpretation by a med student for med students. This is video number 3. Right. So in our last video, we talked about our system for interpreting ECG, RRAP, WQ, ST. And today we're going to talk about that first R, which is rate. There are basically two methods of determining the heart rate or how fast the heart is going from looking at an ECG. And we're going to go over both of those. So method 1 is 300 divided by the number of large squares between QRS complexes, between R waves. This is a really useful one because it's quick. You can just eyeball an ECG and get a really good feel for how fast the rate is. A situation when it doesn't perform so well would be when the heart rate is irregular, because if you're only looking at the distance between a single pair of R waves, then you're not necessarily going to get a good feel for how often the heart's beating over a longer time period. It's only really showing you that small time period. So in that situation, we've got option 2, which is the number of QRS complexes or the number of R waves times 6. And it's times 6 because a normal ECG recording a page at a normal paper speed is going to give you 10 seconds. So multiplying 10 seconds by 6, you're going to get your 60 seconds, your minute. All right, so going through each of those options with the sample ECG. So first of all, we can use 300 divided by the number of large squares. So for example, between this R wave and this R wave, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 large squares. So 300 divided by 4 is going to give us a heart rate of about 75. And our other option, this is pretty regular. That's probably about right, but let's just do the other option just for practice. So our other option here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 times 6 is going to give us 72. So both of those methods are giving us roughly the same heart rate. And in interpreting an ECG, the difference between about 72 or about 75 is not going to make a big difference to your management. And so either of those methods is going to give you an adequate result. Of course, in real life, the method that you're likely to use is to look up at the ECG report at the top of the page. And this one doesn't have one, but normally up at the top of an ECG recording, there'll be a report that will tell you the rate, some of the intervals, and also an interpretation of the ECG. And you shouldn't rely on that for everything, but actually for the rate, that's perfectly adequate to rely on. So you're fine to look at that in real life, but in an exam, you do need to know how to calculate this without having that rate given to you. So just summing up once again, we can calculate the rate in an ECG recording by either taking 300 and dividing it by the number of large squares in between two R waves, or, and especially when the heart rate is irregular, we can count the number of R waves or QRS complexes in the whole recording and then multiply it by 6. So that is how you interpret the rate. So in the next video, we're going to talk about assessing the rhythm in an ECG. I'll see you then. Cheers.